Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Superbouts here on ESPN as we look at some of the greatest fights of all time. We'll go back to 1983 and look at the middleweight championship fight of the world, which will include the champion, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, against the challenger, Roberto Duran. Working with me, as usual, on the Superbouts is KO Magazine columnist and our ESPN boxing expert, Al Bernstein. Al, as you take a look at Roberto Duran getting ready to fight a guy that has fought so well up to this point, of course, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Roberto Duran coming up from a lightweight, the junior middleweight champion, the burden of truth has to be on his shoulders right now.
Well, he was coming so far up in weight from where he starting out as a lightweight and moving up to the middleweight division, really, over the course of years. And he was indeed the junior middleweight champion. He had beaten Davey Moore for that after beating Pepino Cuevas, a former welterweight champ, before that. Duran was on a roll, but the question is, could he cope with a full-fledged middleweight like Marvin Hagler?
Marvin Hagler won the title in 1980, defeating Alan Minter. That came in London. And since that time, he's been pretty much invincible. How about going against Duran?
Well, there was no one in the middleweight division who had even come close to beating Marvin Hagler. He had been just a dominant force in that division, and that's what made, I think, the Duran fight have even more intrigue, because people thought to themselves, well, no middleweights are beating him, so maybe a quicker fighter from a lower weight division, Duran's certainly a legend, maybe he would fare better against Hagler. And they knew one thing. They knew that Duran was a very clever fighter, and that even though he'd lost some of the skills he had when he was younger, he was still a very clever champion.
Well, we're all set to go to Las Vegas for round one between, of course, Roberto Duran and Marvelous Marvin Hagler for the middleweight championship of the world, and we'll have it for you on Superbouts right after this timeout.
It's out there, waiting on your step.
PSA and dot. It's a jam-packed outdoor arena, Caesars Palace, Las Vegas, Nevada. Middleweight championship fight of the world, the champion, Marvin Hagler against the challenger, Roberto Duran, on the left. Al Bernstein, there's one thing about this. We also may have a world championship, a number of press people covering this particular fight in Vegas.
A lot of interest, obviously, in this fight, and a lot of pressure put on the two fighters and all the hoopla leading up to it in the days and weeks before the fight. And strangely, some people think it might affect Hagler more because while he's had a number of championship fights, none has had the kind of attention focused on it that this has. And some people wonder if he might be a little more tight than Duran going in.
Hagler winning that world championship in the middleweight division in 1980, in September to be exact, against Alan Minter in London. Since that time has been very successful in defending that title, but again, a little different challenge here tonight, maybe from the bull. Duran being warned to keep his punches up here early in round one. Hagler is a marvelous type fighter in the fact that he'll sting, as you see out of the southpaw position at the moment, and then will dance away. Roberto Duran on the other side tries to just keep coming at you. How about Duran? Would he try to get inside? Would he like to fight off the chest of Hagler tonight, Al?
Well, the conventional thinking is that he would like to, but some people, including Sugar Ray Leonard, who's a fairly good authority on Roberto Duran, thinks that Duran might serve himself better from the outside because he's Hagler's strength on the inside. Strangely, Hagler's never gotten credit for being a very good inside fighter, and yet he can fight on the inside, so it's possible Duran may do his best work from the outside. We'll have to see.
I think just a measure of the tape may have told us that the outside fighting for Hagler may have been better. 75-inch reach compared to 67 for Duran. Hagler just trying to flip that right jab to set up something with the left hand here early in round one.
Of course, one of Duran's attributes that sometimes it goes unnoticed is his defense. He's very tough to hit, and that's something Hagler is keenly aware of. Hagler's a student of the art of boxing, and when he watches tapes, he can pick things up, so he knows it'll be difficult to hit Duran.
Right-handed Duran is just barely getting inside, has not done a great deal of damage so far against Hagler, but it's certainly something, you know, that the Petronellis are watching in this corner right now.
Hagler using the jab early in this first round and trying to follow with the straight left behind it, and that's a punch is not getting home yet. Duran is slipping it very effectively.
They're set for 15 rounds in this middleweight championship fight. We're under 30 seconds here in round one. Both fighters very cautious. Good left hand that time by Hagler. They have been caught mostly on the shoulder by Duran, however, as both the fighters continue to pick and probe as we come to the end of round one of this one in Las Vegas. Sam Smith and Al Bernstein ready for round 2 of this middleweight championship fight. Marvin Hagler against Roberto Duran. And Al, it was indeed, I think, truly the feeling out first round by both of these guys.
Both these fighters taking a look at each other, trying to separate out myth from reality, really. They've never faced each other, of course, before, and they're trying to see just what the other has to offer.
Marvin Hagler, 32 consecutive fights have gone in the win column for him. 29 years of age. 32 years of age for Roberto Duran.
See Hagler using kind of an uppercut there. A lot of people believe that punch will be effective against Duran. He's missing him with the straight left, so maybe if he brings it as an uppercut, it'll get there.
Duran going downstairs to do a little damage on the champion that time.
And a little too low. Gets a warning from Stanley Christodoulou, the referee.
Second time in the fight. You may recall back in the first round he was warned as well. Now the champion is warned for a possible elbow. I have a feeling Mr. Christodoulou will be quite busy tonight in this fight with these two guys.
Well, they both know their way around the ring, and neither is above some questionable tactics on occasion. Marvin Hagler's been known to use his head pretty well, and Duran, he knows about every trick in the book.
Now we're seeing a little bit more busy fighters here, Al, than we saw in round 1. Truly, you've got to find out what you can do. Your corner people tell you now in round 2. Are we seeing just about what now had been anticipated as we get a little bit deeper in round 2?
They're starting to get a little bit busier, and you see Hagler trying to establish that right jab. That's really important for him. And remember also, he tends to switch around to the right-handed stance from time to time, and we may look for that also.
Duran getting a couple of right hands in, caught mostly on the glove by Hagler. Hagler with a little infighting here as Duran just bows in and gets caught with a couple of uppercuts.
Good uppercut, and we see early that Hagler comfortable fighting on the inside when Duran's there. That's what some people wondered about when he had his first fight with Vito Antuofermo, when he drew with Antuofermo before he won the title. He stopped fighting when Antuofermo got on the inside, and so some people feel he doesn't like to fight on the inside, but he can fight that.
You will hear, I think, throughout the night the mixed reactions of this crowd here in Vegas. You kind of get the feeling that one round there for Duran, the next round there for Hagler, and I think you'll find that out even through the first 2 here tonight. Closing moments of round number 2. Round 1, rather lackluster. Round 2, a little bit more intensity, a little busier activity from both the fighters, anticipating more action here in Vegas. Middleweight championship of the world up for grabs. Hagler, the champion. Duran, the challenger.
Go deep.
Round 3, middleweight championship fight. Hagler comes out quickly. Duran meets him at center ring here in Vegas. You see the maroon trunks for Hagler. Still fighting out of that southpaw. One thing about Hagler, Al, is the fact that he is so accomplished at switching, coming out of the southpaw. If he feels advantageous to go the other way, it's not too unusual for him to change even in the middle of a round sometime.
And he's equally as effective as a right-hander, and we may see that from him.
Duran just waiting in, the right hand glancing off the forehead of Hagler. Crowd cheering at the boxing skills of both.
Hagler a little off balance there. He is still trying to figure out Roberto Duran.
Duran doing a good job of slipping that, particularly the left hand, which is the one Hagler's trying to load up with. But Duran, for the most part, has not had any ill effects from that so far.
Hagler landing the uppercut very well on the inside. He's got a good uppercut with either hand.
Duran waiting in, Hagler countering well. Almost, as Al pointed out, that uppercut working to perfection halfway through round 3.
Duran is looking to load up with that right hand. He thinks he can get to Hagler with it, and there he just missed with it.
Now, one of the things that we pointed out at the start is the fact that Duran has made such a rapid climb from the lightweight division winning the junior middleweight, and now here fighting in the middleweight championship. Does he possess that kind of power, quite obviously, to continue to go up? Many say he does.
Well, this is his first fight, really, as a middleweight, although junior middleweight is quite close to it. And can he hurt Marvin Hagler? A lot of people doubt it, but we'll see.
Of course, I guess you're talking about an apple and an orange when you consider Marvin Hagler and maybe judging against some of the other middleweights.
That's true. And they are getting down to it right now.
Duran is landing some shots, but Hagler is doing well off the counter. And again is using that mostly the uppercut type move that has scored well on Duran. Under 30 seconds here in round 3.
Good exchange there, and then both fighters content to get out at long range and rethink things.
Both almost look like they have been given the instruction to try to be a lot busier, try to throw more punches. And Duran certainly has done that in round 3. But Hagler has countered him well in this middleweight championship fight. All right, Hagler the champion. Duran the challenger, wants to pick up the middleweight belt, but he's got a fight in his hands with the champion Hagler. We have seen no indications of Hagler coming out of that southpaw stance as he continues to fight that way. Again, we alluded to the fact that he can fight either way. And now he starts to switch and goes to the right here in the 5th.
Just as you said that, he does turn right-handed. And goes with the left hook and landed that first one.
Duran was well aware that this was going to happen, and now you see quickly Hagler is right back into the southpaw stance again.
Well, he was effective as a righty for a moment there, and again he's back to this. I think Hagler feels more comfortable as a southpaw, but as we said, he can also fight as a righty and do it well.
Duran countering with a good right off the break. As Hagler came wading in, as he broke, Duran caught him on the chin.
The big difference right now, I think, is that Hagler's able to land that uppercut on the inside. It's not doing serious damage to Duran, but it is landing. And Roberto's so sparing with his punches. He is just not throwing that much.
Round 3 almost looked like they had started to shift into high gear with more punches coming from both camps. But now in round 5, even though they are landing some good punches, they are not as numerous as they were. Hagler wildly throwing that left and missing. Now he gets the left inside on Duran. Duran comes back with a good right to the jaw.
Good jab a moment ago by Hagler, and that's the punch he really needs to get going here. And Duran's done a good job of slipping it. Duran looking to counter with that right hand. That right now, that is his main intent.
Reminder, of course, it's a 10-point must system here in Nevada in the scoring. International judges from Denmark, Canada, and Japan scoring this fight tonight. Hagler again attacking, Duran countering.
That was a good right hand to the body by Hagler, and Duran countered with an excellent right to the head.
This is round number 5, under 30 seconds to go. Round 1 rather lackluster. 2 and 3 picked up in intensity. 4 was a coasting round by both. Now here in round 5, they have both scored well. They're set for 15 for the middleweight championship here in Las Vegas at Caesars Palace. Got the impression at the end of round 5 that this crowd had pretty well started to see glimmers, Al Bernstein, of what they paid their money for. As 5 picked up, and now we're ready for round 6. Hagler, who has almost been totally invincible in his last few fights, 32 in a row have been victories for him. Duran really coming from the lightweight up now to the middleweight division, and has wooed a lot of people along the way.
And as he's gone up each weight division, of course, he's won the welterweight crown, then eventually won the junior middleweight, and he scoffs at Hagler. That's what's been missing in this fight a little bit, some of the bravado of Duran, but he is showing it to us now as Hagler turns right-handed for a moment. Now they're waging a battle on the inside.
This was what Al had pointed out earlier, that a lot of people had expected it to evolve into this very early. We have had to wait now until the 6th round to start really seeing maybe what people had expected early in this fight.
Good jab by Hagler, who's now a righty, and he is landing. There's the left hook. He is landing well as a right-hander, but he switches back to the southpaw stance. Now he's back to righty.
So confusing for Roberto Duran. You start having the defense against the big right hand, and all of a sudden the left starts catching it, and vice versa when he goes the other way. Duran's style never changing. It's always coming at you, always trying to hit the big right. Just a little over halfway of round 6. Set for 15 in the middleweight.
Hagler doing well on the inside, a place where some didn't think he would fight well. There's a righty. Look at, he lands the straight right hand to the head of Duran. Marvin is so effective from the right-handed stance. Another good right.
Great right off the face of the challenger Duran. Look at those uppercuts when they get in close from the champion Hagler. Just kind of sending Duran's head reeling backwards. A lot of power, as Al pointed out, a very strong Marvin Hagler inside. There's the left-right combination again.
The switching back and forth has really helped Hagler, and there's a righty. He's in the posture now where he is really effective. Works the body and the head.
One place Duran does not want to be is on those ropes, particularly what Hagler is demonstrating now. With under a half a minute to go in round 6, he circles back out towards the center of the ring, and Hagler continues to tee off, though.
Marvin Hagler having himself a big round here in round 6, by far his best in the fight.
Duran slipping an uppercut, but Hagler counting with the left-right, fighting off of the right-handed stance right now against Duran in round 6. I think a lot of people out are looking at this fight as we have fought through now 6 and go into number 7. At this one set for 15 may not go that way, the way these guys are battling here through these rounds.
Well, it's starting to heat up, and there's Hagler switching to the righty stance where he did such good work in that last round.
He had fought in the left-handed southpaw stance almost through the duration of the first 4 rounds. Made a little switch briefly in the 5th, back and forth in the 6th, and now comes out of the right-handed stance here in round 7, referring to the champion Hagler. You can see Duran just trying to flip that left jab to try to keep Hagler at bay. I think he found out something in round, particularly 5 and 6, that chest to chest with the champion may not be the best way to try to win this one.
He had trouble on the inside, and in this round, Hagler lets him stay on the outside. Hagler not coming out very aggressively, and after he had such a good round 6, it's really surprising to see him let up here in the 7th. He had Roberto Duran reeling a little bit.
Anytime you fight here in Vegas, you kind of share the spotlight with so many stars. Great fighters in their own. Thomas Hearns, Larry Holmes looking on. From the show business world, Susan Anton, Bo Derek, and many more.
Left hook and a right by Hagler, and again from the righty stance, he's pretty effective.
Left hand to the side that time by Hagler. Didn't look like there was that much of a punch. But again, with the power of Hagler, that can start taking its toll. Hagler is very much persevering now, Al, particularly in number 5, 6, and now here in 7. Looks like a totally different fighter than we saw in rounds, particularly 1, 2, and 3.
Been more aggressive, and there you see him club Duran with the left hook. From this stance as a righty, he is very effective, and he can hit Duran with that left hook almost at will.
Duran starts to look a little weary as he starts taking more of those punches from Hagler here in the 7th. Starting to back up a little bit more than Duran had done earlier in the first 6. And once you see the number of punches being landed, you know why. And now you see Hagler has gone back into the southpaw stance again. Marvin Hagler, 5, 6, and now 7. Look very much, without a doubt, his best 3 rounds so far.
Duran doing very little here.
Defense has been rather non-existent in round 7. We'll move to more in a moment. Sam Smith along with Al Bernstein. We move to round 9 after round 8. Was an exchanges of punches, but nothing devastating by either side. And round 9, the champion Hagler against the challenger Duran. Duran wading in with a left-right. But again, Hagler, who has countered very well throughout the night, continues to do so.
And there, as a righty, you see the left hand by Hagler can get in, the left hook. And there you see the combination punching. From that posture as a righty, he's able to land those punches often.
That straight right hand just over the left lead by Duran has been a good weapon tonight by Hagler. Hagler, as you saw there, just a master at slipping punches, even though Duran has caught him with some good punches of his own, not that many so far.
You know, Hagler, while he is landing fairly well, does not seem to be punching with that much authority. It's almost as if he's just pity-patting some of his punches. And obviously some have power on him, but he's not really unloading the way he would like.
Particularly, Al, after we looked at round 6 and 7 there and kind of looking on, and he really looked devastating in 6 and 7. Had Duran looking very tired, back on his heels.
Now there's the work on the inside. He's winning this fight on the inside, Hagler is. And that is surprising, I think, to many people. And the only one doing any combination punching is Hagler. Duran has hardly put two punches together in this fight. He's landed some good right hands, but very little combinations.
Hagler, other than those rounds we mentioned of 5, 6, and 7 in particular, has been rather content, even though he comes in there to wait back, counter, let Duran carry the offense, and then to counter off of it, which he's done very well.
Well, except Duran isn't throwing that many punches. I mean, Roberto Duran in this fight is just not throwing many punches. So Duran may come forward, but he doesn't do much.
How confusing. Left hand, right hand. Hagler back to the southpaw again. Goody and Pat Petronelli over in the corner of the champion. That great stable out of Brockton, Mass. Giving Hagler the words to see what he can do as the two fighters just glare at each other here in round 9.
Well, we've had a lot of this in this fight, and it has been a chess match, not a brawl, that's for sure. And both these fighters showing respect to the other, but maybe showing a little too much respect, because especially in Hagler's case, I think he may need to go out there and exert his power in the fact that he is the true middleweight. But certainly he's had a good round 9.
Hagler almost just pawing with the right hand. Duran still waiting to throw that big right hand that could end this fight, but so far he's done little damage on the champion here in Las Vegas.
That's kicked away. Another chance.
To round 11 as round 10 was condensed only in about the last 10 seconds of the round. Both fighters exchanging well, and this in round 11. You can hear the crowd as they're ready for more of the fireworks with Hagler and Duran. Duran starting to stalk. Hagler bobbing, weaving, jumping away. Trying to pick his punches here. Again, fighting out of the southpaw stance.
As we head toward the home stretch of this fight, there have been a lot of close rounds, presumably, and not a lot of action in a lot of rounds, so it makes it difficult in some instances to score, though certainly at this point I would see Marvin Hagler as having done a lot more work than Duran.
This is also the time of the fight, as you can hear some boos coming out for the lack of action right now. Sometimes a guy will feel, well, I'm ahead on the card, I'll just let the other guy come to me and try to see what I can do. Play a little defensively rather than be the aggressive fighter that he's been throughout the fight.
Well, that would appear to be what Hagler's doing. He is boxing a little bit now. You can look at this strategy and look at it a couple different ways. It might be a good idea because Duran might come in and he might catch him with a good counter shot. But then again, Hagler is fighting the legend of Roberto Duran, and you can easily give a round away doing this.
Al, I got the impression, even though so much had been said about Duran, the great one from Panama, so much had been said that he may be the one that's finally the fly in the ointment for Hagler. Hagler, I don't think, listened to much of that, getting ready for this fight. I think he knows exactly what he had to do coming in.
I think he did, but I do think that looking at him here, he's affected to some extent because he is not attacking Duran with the ferocity that you might expect, and part of it may be that Duran has conned him into thinking that Hagler can't knock him out. We don't know, but that is something that may be going on in Hagler's mind. Hagler's boxing, but he's not boxing that effectively. He's moving a lot, but not punching much. Neither is Duran, for that matter.
This is round 11. By no stretch of the imagination was 5, 6, and 7 the best rounds of this fight. Both fought well, Hagler in particular. Now the fans are wanting a little bit more activity than they're seeing from these two middleweights in round 11.
It's strange that Hagler is boxing so much on the outside because he has been so effective on the inside. Fighting off Duran's chest, he has really been dominant. And we saw that a moment ago when they were on the inside. This round is tough to score principally because so few punches have been thrown.
One thing to keep in mind, in the last few fights, Hagler has not gone very long. He's had knockouts in the 1st, the 5th, the 6th, and the 4th in his last 4 fights in particular. He's tried to stretch it out to go 15 here tonight against Duran. As Marvin Hagler, the middleweight champion of the world, against his challenger Roberto Duran, outdoor arena at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. Activity in the 11th round. Not a lot of action. Probably more here in the first 30 seconds of round 12 than we saw the entire round 11.
I continue to be surprised at Hagler not switching more to the right-handed stance. I just think he's been so effective from that posture.
Why is he more effective from the right against Duran than he is with the left out?
Well, I think because Duran is expecting to face him as a southpaw. When he fights as a righty, Hagler is getting his jab in, and his reach advantage is more important to him then. His reach advantage means something as a right-hander. As a southpaw, it seems to be nullified by Duran.
Hagler again with a combination, mostly off the shoulders of Duran.
To me, that's the key difference in the fight. The number of punches Hagler has thrown. They've not all landed, that's for sure. Some blocked, some slipped, but he has thrown many more punches than Duran at this point.
That's got to be a scoring-type psychological effect for those at ringside, in the fact that a guy throwing so many punches, you automatically sometimes say, well, gee, he threw so many more punches. You have to look at how effective they were, certainly.
If you throw more are bound to land. And he has done that. And some have been blocked, and certainly Duran has slipped a number of them. But Duran's been very economical. There they bang heads together. Good uppercut by Duran.
Duran still trying to load up with that right hand as he throws it wildly. And Hagler just slips that left over the top and has caught Duran almost flush in the face every time.
Duran with his hands by his side, whether from fatigue or macho, he's not getting hit much by Hagler at this point.
Other than the one round now, we have not seen Duran kind of look at Hagler and shake off a lot of things. He's pretty much been very steadfast and is coming straight on at him.
Well, he's got kind of a stoic look on his face. Not too much of the bravado we're used to seeing from Roberto Duran.
Marvin Hagler working on 32 consecutive wins. Undisputed middleweight champion of the world.
And this is what people came to see. Both these fighters toe-to-toe now. Hagler with a good uppercut and a good straight left hand by Hagler.
Hagler out of the southpaw again. Doesn't really set it up that much with the right. When he feels that left, here it comes. Even though he's jabbing well with the right now.
Good exchange. Maybe the best of the fight in this 12th round.
I think you can hear the fans in the background, too, and the fact that after rounds 5, 6, and 7, they've been kind of setting on their hands. Now here in round 12, the two fighters have picked up the intensity again. Duran wading in, Hagler countering. Good left hands. And there's the bell to end round 12. Almost in unison, this crowd says, we want more, and here comes round 13.
Toward the end of round 12 there, in fact, during much of round 12, they were toe-to-toe, and one of the results of that is under the left eye of Marvin Hagler, there's swelling and a little bleeding. Might have been a clash of heads there. Or it could have been some of those right hands that Duran landed.
Hagler was very effective with the left hand, leading with that right jab that is at least keeping Duran a little bit off balance, not letting him cock that right hand. There's a good left hand to the face of Duran. early rounds, these fighters just tried to pick their spots. Rounds 5, 6, and 7. Hagler really taking it to Duran. Duran trying to counter. After that, they settled in with a couple of rounds that were action-packed, but until round 12, it had been rather quiet here.
Hagler continues to try and land that straight left, and by and large, he's missed it. And I don't think he's ever gotten his right jab as a southpaw untracked the way he wanted to. There, that one landed, though.
Al Duran has not done anything differently since the start of the fight. Of course, Hagler is going southpaw right hand, which changes up the strategy greatly, but Duran has been pretty much just straight up the way he's fought since round 1.
Well, he is looking to land that lead right. He's thrown some jabs and some good right uppercuts. Beyond that, not much from Duran. An occasional outburst.
Still excellent hand speed by the champion Hagler here in the 13th. Got both the left, right. There's that cupping left to the side of the face of Duran. Both fighters here in round 13 now are almost into up on their toes, lunging a lot, not sitting back on those punches, it doesn't appear.
I think that's a good point, and they are throwing a lot of arm punches. Hagler has done that throughout the fight, throwing a lot of arm punches, not getting his body into it. He gets better leverage when they're on the inside. There's a good uppercut.
Excellent uppercut that he scored with all night long. Christodoulou, Stanley first name, our referee here tonight. Right hand by Duran brings a little oohs and ahs from the crowd.
His right hands have brought, as you said, a response from the crowd, and they've landed well when they've landed. There haven't been many of them.
Straight right hand by Hagler. Fighting predominantly probably at least 70-30 out of the southpaw stance. Now he goes into the right hand stance as we close in on the end of the round 13. Well, this fight is heading for round 14, scheduled for 15. Middleweight championship of the world on the line. The champion Hagler. The junior middleweight champion, Roberto Duran, trying to again climb up in weight division.
Look at Hagler. He came out in this round as if indeed he felt the title was on the line, blasting the body of Roberto Duran.
We saw at the end of round 13 now a little bit of that glaring, kind of taunting each other type thing that maybe we had expected to see more of early in this fight.
Well, we are down to the nitty-gritty of it right now, that's for sure, and maybe Duran feeling he can get an edge. Conditioning an important factor here, and both these fighters trained hard for this fight, that's for sure. They've both been 15 rounds before, a number of times, so they know what it's like to be here. Good work on the inside by Hagler.
Al, of course, with your preparation for the fight, was it pretty well split with the media on how this might go, or was there Hagler all the way or Duran all the way?
I think Hagler is the big favorite coming in. Some people picked Duran, but Hagler was, I think, considered the favorite in this fight.
Hagler indeed coming out here in round 14, taking the fight to Duran. Roberto, as Al pointed out, those hands getting lower and lower, kind of taunting Hagler to throw to the head. Hagler obliges with a little left cross.
I think the big story in this fight is how well Hagler's done on the inside. Much better than some people imagine.
I, for one, particularly with that reach advantage, thought it would be a long-range battle for Hagler. But when Duran was content to get on the chest, Hagler showed beautiful uppercuts, good body shots, and worked well. Do I get a sense from this crowd, Al Bernstein, that they sense a little blood? They'd like to have something going here in the 14th.
Well, there was toe-to-toe action at the beginning of this round, and they'd like to see that again. Good work on the inside there by Hagler.
You got a good look at that left eye that Al had alluded to earlier about Hagler. It is swelling a little more, but it does not appear, particularly if this does go the distance to the full 15, which this being round 14, would probably not give him that much problem. Under 30 seconds and counting here in round 14. Closing seconds of round 14. This middleweight championship fight in Las Vegas will go the distance. We'll have round 15 for you in just a moment. Championship fight is coming to the 15th and final round. Many didn't think it would get this far, but here it is. As Marvin Hagler, Roberto Duran saying, come on, I've taken it for 14, I can do it for one more.
Well, Marvin Hagler happy to oblige, and Hagler fought the 14th with a lot of zeal, feeling that he wants to close the show very strongly here. Though I think he may suspect he's ahead in this fight. He's not taking anything for granted.
International judges from Denmark, Canada, and Japan scoring this fight a 10-point must system.
Hagler came into this fight saying he wanted a knockout because, of course, he remembered the bitter feeling he had after getting a draw with Vito Antuofermo when he first tried in '79 for the middleweight title, a fight that he and many people believe he won. And he said he didn't want to leave it in the hands of the judges. Right now, that's where it is unless he can get a knockout here in the 15th round. And he's trying for one. He is going after Duran.
Trust me, there is still some sting in both of those punches from both sides. As Duran still loading up for that right. He has been unsuccessful in really putting a good, crisp punch on Hagler, even though Hagler will probably tell you different after this fight is over. But he has not absorbed as many right hands as many thought he might from Duran.
Hagler busy on the inside. Those are short punches. Some of them are a little pity-pat, but they're getting in against Duran, and he's scoring.
Over halfway through round 15. A fight of ebbs and flows. We saw a lot of action in the mid-rounds. Then both fighters almost seemed to coast. Hagler picked up steam again late in the fight, as did Duran, and now here they are in the 15th.
And it's Hagler doing the landing. He is punching well. That is a good right hand to the head of Duran. Roberto Duran looks tired at this point. And Hagler landing often.
Hagler, who has won 32 consecutive fights, trying to go for 33 right here against Roberto Duran in Las Vegas.
Now there, Duran tries to hold, and he pushes him off and lands a couple of good shots. That's what Hagler wanted to do early in the fight. Push Duran off, not let him hold. Hagler ripping shots to the body.
I pointed out early in the fight, this is not where Duran wants to be against those ropes. For the most part tonight, he has not been, but here in the 15th, he is taking a lot of punishment, even though he's trying to counter with a left and a right of his own. Hagler is clearly superior here in round 15.
And he is working the body of Roberto Duran as this fight winds toward a conclusion. Good right hook by Hagler.
So we'll go to decision in 15 rounds as Marvin Hagler tries to retain his middleweight championship over Roberto Duran. '29-year-old middleweight champion of the world, marvelous Marvin Hagler, waiting for the decision here in Vegas. Well, across the ring, of course, it's Roberto Duran and Chuck Hall. The ring announcer has it now.
Here is the decision of the judges. Judge Guy Jutras scores 144-142. Judge Yasaka Yoshida scores 146-145. Judge Obi Oberson scores 144-143 for the winner by unanimous decision, and still the out of undisputed middleweight champion of the world, marvelous Marvin Hagler.
So the champion, Marvin Hagler, rejoices here in Las Vegas. Al Bernstein and I back to talk about the decision in a moment. Well, we hope you enjoyed our super bout. Marvelous Marvin Hagler retaining his middleweight championship of the world over Roberto Duran. Al Bernstein, you've seen that fight at ringside a couple of times now. You've still got to be shocked at the closeness of the judges scoring at the end.
Well, I was astonished that night at the scores by the judges, and I'm even more astonished after having looked at it on tape now. I can't imagine how anybody could say that Marvin Hagler needed to win the last 2 rounds to win that fight. While he didn't hurt Duran during the fight, I thought that he threw many more punches and was the dominant fighter. And I don't know how you can look at that fight and feel otherwise.
This was a major fight for Hagler, and the fact it was his first big money fight, really, wasn't it?
Well, he had made $1 million for every defense previous to this, but this one was a fight in which he would make $5 to $8 million, and so it was important for him to win it. Many people said afterwards he didn't win it convincingly enough to show the world he was a great middleweight champion. Maybe he didn't, and maybe he'll still have to fight a really excellent fight in the future, maybe against a Thomas Hearns, and win decisively to convince people that he belongs in the category of a Carlos Monzon or Sugar Ray Robinson.
Effects of this fight on Roberto Duran after coming out of a fight against Hagler. What did it do to him?
Well, he went on to fight Thomas Hearns, and of course he got drubbed by Hearns, knocked out early in the fight, and some would make the comparison, and they would say, well, why didn't Hagler do that to him? And maybe it's a valid question, and we may find out when Hearns and Hagler take the ring against each other. But for Roberto Duran, I think this fight went a long way toward maybe sending him toward retirement.
So even though, of course, Hagler does retain his middleweight championship, the big hype that was around the fight, maybe it didn't meet all of its expectations, but still it proved Hagler is still invincible at that time.
He won the fight, and he retained his middleweight championship, and in his mind, that was the main business at hand.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed our Super Bout here on ESPN. Speaking on behalf of Al Bernstein, this is Sam Smith, hoping that you'll join us again when we bring you the best fights here on ESPN on our Super Bouts.